Welcome to UNCAGED, a show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today, we're speaking with Stephanie Barnes. Hi, Stephanie. How are you?
Great. How are you, Brent?
I'm very, very well. Stephanie has one of the coolest titles in the world. She is the Chief Chaos Organizer at Entelechy. Entelechy is a consultancy whose main purpose is helping people and organizations become more collaborative, innovative, flexible, and transparent as they flatten hierarchies, improve employee engagement, and adapt to an ever-evolving environment. And we'll get into the Entelechy story and what Stephanie is doing there. But before we get there, Stephanie, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
Sure. Yeah, I actually have an undergrad in accounting and an MBA in IT. So the whole arts and creativity stuff, which we will get into as we talk, was not something that I was educated in, except for self-education and exploration and discovery. So yeah, I spent the first part of my career in finance and accounting, and then IT, being a process consultant and IT consultant. And then I always say, I worked at HP for almost 7 years. And I always say HP did me the great good favor of laying me off as part of the Compaq merger layoffs in 2003, at the end of 2003. And so I've been self-employed since then and doing knowledge management, which was what I was doing at HP. And I was really good at it. I had 7,000 people using a platform that we never had any budget for. And, you know, just it was a whole under the radar guerrilla thing that we had a lot of people needed it.
Yeah.
And so I was good at it and I just kept doing it. And now it's evolved into Entelechy and Radical KM, which is about bringing creativity in, not just people, process, and technology. And
yeah, I mean, that's really, really cool. I really want to get into what you're working on now. It seems like it brings together both the left brain and the right brain here. So tell me how this goes.
Absolutely, it does. It's an idea that I've worked on for 10, 11 years, since 2011. I was at a leadership workshop and we painted, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. How do I do this in my day job? And being self-employed, you know, it's a bit difficult to shift focus, but there was a connection. I felt there was a connection with the knowledge management work that I was doing, and there is around innovation and looking at things and making connections. And so I just kept working on it. And then the pandemic came along. I'm going to jump over some stuff. The pandemic came along and people were finally ready to hear and go, oh, we need to look at how we're working and how we're treating people and how we're, you know, solving problems and things. And so, yeah, the reception to radical knowledge management, which is what I started calling it in the first months of the pandemic, has really taken off. So I've published 2 papers and spoken at, you know, some conferences. I got some more coming up this year, and yeah, it's really
I love
exciting.
it. So tell me more about this philosophy of radical knowledge management.
So it's about, really it boils it down to, we've been, and I always hesitate to say this a little bit because people might think I'm a little nuts or a little presumptuous, but I feel
only
like
great ideas come from these types of things. So.
Yeah, it's very true. I feel like we've been doing it wrong for about 5,000 years. You know, we've separated creativity and the arts from business and science and said, no, you know, these are separate things and they shouldn't mix, and there's no, you know, no integration point, and keep them separate. And that's just gotten worse. And so with production lines and things, we've just focused on being analytical and rational. And, you know, the accountant in me and the MBA in me is like, oh yeah, right, you know, efficient, effective. Yeah, let's focus on that and optimizing what's in the box. But we've forgotten that when we optimize what's in the box, whatever the box is, that we're not actually optimizing the whole system.
Right.
And so adding the creativity in is really about optimizing the whole system. And through my research and development of this idea, I sort of discovered almost by accident, I'm going to say, again, all the best ideas come that way.
Yep.
And like I looked at all these learnings from artists because I paint and so I looked at all these learnings from artists. I'm like, these are all sustainable mindset behaviors. And yet sustainability is a big thing, right? And it's like, well, no wonder our organizations and ourselves as human beings aren't particularly sustainable. I really have to focus on it because we've separated out all of these things and said, well, those aren't important. And yet they drive behaviors that would make us more sustainable, make us look at the big picture and the interconnection of things and understand and contemplate the consequences of behaviors and choices and decisions. And so it's like, oh, wait, if we add creativity back in, that teaches us all these sustainable mindset behaviors, it makes us as individuals and organizations more sustainable. So
that's really interesting. And I really think, certainly you're picking up on a major trend in business today, where it's a bit of a generational shift. It's a bit of a mindset shift. It's a bit of a demand because our climate and our world demands it shift.
Yep.
But tell me more on the types of things that Entelechy gets to get involved with.
Oh, I don't know where to start. All kinds of things. The focus really is with the knowledge management community, because that's my background. And before I got really focused on the radical KM stuff, I have published a couple of books and articles and things. So the KM people are my people. And so I work with them because knowledge in our organizations is really important, and we need to pay more attention to. We are certainly in the knowledge economy, well and solidly into the knowledge economy, and we really need to be paying more attention to that. So, and that's part of where Radical KM plays, is around knowledge creation. And with VUCA, VUCA means volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Again, the learnings from artists help us deal with VUCA because it helps us be flexible and adaptable and consider, all these pieces and not get tied into a plan. Recognize that just taking that one step, is all we need to know right now. We don't need to know how we're going to get to step number 1,000. We just need to know what the next step is and figure
one step at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah, or as I say, bird by bird, basically. Yes. So that completely makes sense to me. Stephanie, I mean, it's an interesting moment when you're dealing with things like knowledge management and during something like this moment we've been living through. And I'd just be curious how you've navigated this, what insights you've drawn. You obviously are someone who publishes and thinks about these things thoroughly. So just be curious if you have any thoughts or advice for our folks.
To pause and reflect more than anything, and I think the pandemic has been good, especially the early stages of it. We're really good for that. I think people have sort of gotten used to it to a certain degree now. And so there's more rushing again, especially people are trying to get back to normal. I hate when I hear people say that, because I don't think that we can go back. I don't think we should go back. I hope that that's been one of the learnings from the pandemic, is that we can't go back. We should be looking for new ways to move forward, more sustainable ways to move forward. And so, I hope that people are pausing and.
Yeah, I like that. I like that thought. It was certainly a moment, I think, that we all had to pause, as we reflected on, will we survive? Will my family be okay? Are my loved ones and friends, will I ever see them again? It was a strange moment for sure. And you're absolutely right. There is a rush to try to get to some semblance of normality, albeit it all feels very awkward right now. I feel like it's almost like I said to a friend of mine, I said, it's every time I have a face-to-face meeting, it's like the first day of school all over again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And you don't know, do you shake hands? Are we tapping elbows? Are we tapping feet? What are we hugging? Yeah.
So it's an odd one for sure. Well,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about 2022. I mean, this is a year where we're still kind of dealing with the pandemic. We obviously are now presented with lots of challenges with geopolitical situations. But putting all of those things aside, what are the trends that you're seeing this year, and what is Entelechy going to be focusing on?
I'm really excited about 2022. I feel like people have kind of settled into this phase that we're in. And so I have published my second paper for radical knowledge management, and people are really excited about that. I'm getting a lot that just published earlier this week. And so lots of positive feedback and engagement about that. I'm teaching my second class in this for knowledge managers. That starts in a couple of weeks. So I'm excited about that. I got projects getting started, that people are ready to embrace a new way of doing things. So 2022 is looking really good, really, really busy, which compared to the last couple of years is good, because so it says to me that people are at least getting used to somehow the uncertainty of the situation and realizing that they can't just sit back and wait for this to pass, that we need to figure out a way forward. And so that's really exciting.
I think that's a really good point. There's not going to be a perfect new normal, right? I mean, it's definitely just going to be a horrible phrase of like getting on, just have to keep pushing and finding a way through this. And I love what you're talking about, which is I very much squarely think about it, bringing that right brain and left brain thinking together. It's something that when it happens, it's magical, and that's really where the best ideas come from. And I will tell you, as a founder of a company, when I've drifted to one side too far, that's when we've gotten off course. So strangely enough, so it's finding that perfect mix that makes it happen.
Absolutely, and that's the great thing about people do kind of doubt about the creativity and the drawing and the painting, because we do that in my workshops and my classes and things, because I want people to have the experience. And I always can tell, especially when it's in person, although I do it all virtually as well. And you can tell as well in that situation, there's this hesitancy of like, why is she making us paint? Why are we doing this? Why aren't we just looking at slides and talking about stuff? And, why am I not in my comfort zone? And then we do the activity, and I will inevitably at least one, if not more, people go, oh, wow. I just solved a problem I've been struggling with for 4 months. I just got an idea because of this.
I'm a big fan of it. One of the weird things about my background, I've studied a lot of different things in my academic career, but oddly enough, one of my undergraduate majors was art history. And the reason why was that I went to Duke University, and they didn't really have a lot of great Italian history courses. And I kept on being pushed to a couple professors over in the art history department that actually had stronger Renaissance history backgrounds. So I ended up taking enough courses with these professors that I ended up getting a major. And understanding the mindset of what goes in the creation of something has been something that has been hugely helpful for me in business in a way that sometimes I'm not able to express it, but certainly with kind of modern art for sure, where it's very conceptual and you really have to understand the mindset behind it, can really help you shape your broader thinking. So I love what you're doing, Stephanie. If someone wanted to reach you and learn more about what Entelechy is up to, where should they find you?
They can go to my webpage, and you can go use realizationofpotential.com with hyphens between the words, or the easier one is actually radicalkm.com, and that directs them to the same webpage. And it's shorter.
Radicalkm.com. I love it. Well, Listen, it's been great having you on UNCAGED Day, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks. It's been great.
Cheers.
Cheers.